Here comes Obina. The ball's cutting, everyone run. In the land of Umueri, boys are born like all others, but they never become men. Why? Because none of them have balls. No one talks about it. No one dares. But tonight, we break the silence. In a quiet land surrounded by dry hills and soft winds, there was a village called Umueri. It looked like any other village. One small hut after another, children playing in the dust, old people sitting under the sun telling stories. But Umueri was not like other places. Something was missing. In Umueri, every baby boy grew up without balls. When a boy was born, the people would celebrate. But deep inside, they were afraid. Because before the boy could learn to walk, a man would come in the night. No one saw him clearly, they only heard his steps. He came from the mountains with his sharp knife and cold silence. By dawn, the boy's balls would be gone. No blood, no cries, just gone. They said his name was Ogbonna. He lived far away in the dark mountains with his strange, quiet wife. No one ever went there. It was a place of fear. People whispered that Ogbonna was not a man, but something else, something older than the wind. And in that place, beyond the cliffs and forests, stood a tall, strange tree. Its branches were thick and twisted. Its leaves were green all year, even when the rains didn't come. But what made it feared were the two skin-like sacs hanging from its branches. They swung gently in the wind, soft, wrinkled, and shaped like a man's balls. People called it the Tree of Remembrance. It was said that Ogbonna hung the balls of every boy he had taken, one for each child born in Umueri. No one had ever counted how many. The elders told the people not to speak of the tree. It is not for us, they would say. It is Ogbonna's work. Still, some people talked when the nights were long and the fire was warm. They told the story of a hunter named Adebayo and how he had angered something that should not have been touched. But most were too scared to listen because if Ogbonna heard, he might come again. Long before the curse, Umueri was a place of joy. Men hunted with pride, women danced under the moon, and children ran free without fear. Among them was a man named Adebayo, strong, brave, and full of laughter. He was the best hunter in Umueri. With a single arrow, he could bring down a deer. With his voice, he could calm wild dogs. The people loved him, the women admired him. But Adebayo's eyes were always looking beyond the village toward the hills and trees where no man dared to walk. One evening, after a long hunt, Adebayo was walking home. The sky was painted orange and gold. The forest was quiet. He passed a path he had never taken before, a narrow trail that led toward a quiet river. He should have gone home, but something pulled him. At the river's edge, he saw her, a woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin was smooth like dark honey. Her hair flowed like the river itself. She wore no cloth, yet she did not seem naked. She stood in the water, her back to him, humming a song that made the trees lean closer to listen. Adebayo forgot his hunger. He forgot his home. He stepped closer. "Who are you?" he asked, but his voice sounded small. The woman turned slowly. Her eyes were deep, glowing with something old and powerful. "You saw me," she said softly. Adebayo nodded, unable to look away. "You were not meant to," she smiled. It was not a kind smile. Still, Adebayo stepped into the river. He did not understand why. He only knew he had to be near her. She touched his face. Her hands were warm, yet they made his skin shiver. They lay together beneath the trees in the soft, wet earth as the river whispered their secret to the night. But when Adebayo woke, the woman was gone. In her place stood something else, a beast, tall with the body of a man, but the face of a creature, horned with burning eyes and breath like smoke. His skin was black like ash, and his arms were wrapped in chains of bone. The beast did not roar. He looked down at Adebayo and spoke with a voice like thunder and sorrow. "You touched what was mine," he said, "and now you will pay?" Adebayo begged. He cried out, but his voice did not move the wind. The beast turned and walked toward the mountains, carrying a pain too deep for words. The woman never returned. That night, the skies darkened over Umueri. The winds grew still. A storm began, but it was not a storm of rain. It was a storm of revenge. And from that moment on, purifying the curse was born. The storm did not howl with wind or pour down rain. It moved like a shadow, cold, slow, heavy. That same night Ogbonna came to Umueri. No one saw him walk. The wind did not carry his footsteps. The moon, usually bold in the night sky, hid behind a curtain of dark clouds. Even the dogs did not bark. Even the fire forgot to crackle. He entered the village without a sound, and behind him came silence. Babies stopped crying, birds vanished from the trees. Ogbonna stood at the center of the village, tall and still, with eyes like burning coals. His horns stretched toward the sky. Around his waist were the bones of animals and men. In his hand he held a blade not made of metal, but of something older, something that pulsed like a living thing. The people came out one by one, their faces filled with fear. They fell to their knees without knowing why. Then came the king, a man named Yusuf, wise and strong. He stepped forward holding his staff, trying to be brave. His heart pounded, but he did not run. "Ogbonna," the king said, bowing his head, "why have you come to Umueri?" Ogbonna did not blink. "Because your hunter touched what was not his," Ogbonna said, his voice slow like drums in the dark. "He defiled the river. He broke the sacred line. For this, all must suffer. Please," the king begged, "spare the people. Punish the man who sinned, but let the village live." Ogbonna turned slowly. "He already suffers." Then Ogbonna raised his arm, pointing toward the sky. Thunder rolled above, but no lightning came. "From this day forward," Ogbonna declared, "every male child born in Umueri will be mine. I will come for him before he becomes a man. I will take what he does not deserve." The people gasped. Mothers clutched their sons. Fathers lowered their eyes. The king fell to his knees. "There must be another way," he said. Ogbonna looked back toward the mountains where his wife once sang. Her tears still ran down the river. "Very well," Ogbonna said. "I will not kill. I will not burn your homes, but I will leave a reminder." He lifted his hand and the winds began to rise. "In the mountains a tree will grow, a tree with branches strong enough to hold what I take, and from its limbs they will hang." The king looked up. "What will hang?" Ogbonna's smile was slow, cruel. "Their manhood." And with that, Ogbonna disappeared into the dark. The wind died. The village stood frozen. The next morning, the first boy's balls were gone. And far in the mountains, where no one dared to go, a strange tree had begun to grow. Its leaves were green, its branches wide, and from two of them, soft and swinging like fruit, hung the first gub-gub. Years passed. The people of Umueri lived quietly, but never in peace. The laughter of boys was now a quiet thing, unsure and thin. Mothers held their baby sons close, weeping in silence, knowing what was to come. And every time a child was born, Ogbonna came. He came with the wind, he came with the dark, he came without fail. The boys grew without their manhood. They became men in body, but not in spirit. They could not plant their seed, they could not give children to their wives, and the village slowly grew older, emptier, and sadder. But one day something changed. A hunter named Kelechi lived on the edge of the village. He was quiet, strong like the trees, and wise like the earth. Kelechi had seen many things. He had lost 2 sons already, both taken by Ogbonna before they could even speak. His heart had grown hard like stone. But then his wife gave birth again. It was a cold morning, the sky still dark. The midwife came in silence, wrapped the baby in a cloth, and said 3 words that made Kelechi's heart beat fast. "It is a boy." Kelechi looked at the baby. The child was warm and perfect, a tiny light in a world full of sorrow. And Kelechi made a choice. He would not lose this son. While the mother rested, Kelechi wrapped the child tightly, slung his hunting bag across his back, and took his strongest bow. He left a note on the mat, kissed his sleeping wife's forehead, and stepped into the night. He walked for hours through forests, across rivers, into lands where no path had been made. He walked where even birds did not sing. And when the sky began to lighten, he reached the foot of a mountain no man had climbed in years. There, hidden deep in the hills, he found a cave. Inside it was dark and cold, but safe. He named his son Chukwuma. He raised him in secret, teaching him to climb, to hunt, to speak with the trees. Chukwuma grew strong and fast, with eyes that saw what others missed. He asked about other people, but Kelechi told him only this: "Down in the valley there is a place where children are born but cannot grow. You must never go there." Chukwuma nodded, but in his heart he wondered. Back in Umueri, Ogbonna came as always. He smelled the air, He searched the huts, but he found only the cries of a newborn girl. His eyes flamed, his rage grew. He stormed into the king's compound and struck the ground with his fist. "You hide from me!" he roared. The king trembled. The villagers gathered. "No one hides from Ogbonna." Ogbonna turned to the baby girl. She looked at him and began to cry. A cry so loud, so sharp that even Ogbonna stepped back. Her voice carried something fierce. He sneered and left, but his fury did not fade. The wind screamed in the mountains that night, and far above, in a cave where a boy slept beside his father, the earth whispered, "One day you will be known. One day Ogbonna will return." The boy grew like a tree in secret. Far from Umweri in the cold arms of the hills, Chukwuma learned to run with the wind, climb with the monkeys, and listen to the earth beneath his feet. His father, Kelechi, taught him everything: how to track animals, how to sleep in the rain, how to speak without words. But there was one thing Kelechi never taught: who Chukwuma really was. Chukwuma did not know about Umweri. He did not know why his father sometimes stared at the fire in silence, or why he woke in the middle of the night with his hand on his blade. He did not know that he was the first boy in many years who still had what others had lost. But deep inside him, he felt something strange. Like the mountains were hiding something just for him. Like the wind called his name differently than others. One day, Chukwuma asked, "Father, are there others like me?" Kelechi looked away. "No." Chukwuma frowned. "Then, where do I come from?" "You come from my heart," Kelechi said, "and that is enough." But it wasn't. Chukwuma began to dream. Dreams of a tree with green leaves and sagging sacks of skin. Dreams of a village that cried without sound. And sometimes a girl, a twin. A voice that once screamed so loud it shook the sky. Far below, in Umweri, that same girl was growing. Her name was Amara. She was smart, wild, and full of fire. Though the curse had not touched her, she felt its weight. She saw her friends' mothers cry. She saw the boys grow into men who could never become fathers. She saw her own mother, often staring toward the hills, whispering prayers into the wind. Amara knew she had a brother. No one told her, but she felt it. Her grandmother once slipped and said, "You screamed so loud the day you were born, even Ogbonna flinched." Amara had stared at her hands after that, wondering what power was inside her lungs. At night, she sat under the moon and talked to the sky. "Brother," she whispered, "if you're out there, I will find you." And in the mountains, Chukwuma would sometimes look toward the valley, feeling something warm brush against his chest, as if someone was calling him, as if something was waiting. Chukwuma could not sleep. The dreams had changed. The tree appeared more often now, its green leaves whispering like tongues, the skin like sacks swinging slowly in the wind. And always he heard a voice, a girl's voice calling him. One morning, without telling his father, Chukwuma packed a small bundle of food, took his blade, and walked into the deep forest. He had gone far before, but not this far. The trees here grew taller, the light thinned, the air felt heavy, like something was watching. Still, Chukwuma walked. Step after step, the wind grew still, even the birds were quiet. Then he saw it. At first it looked like a shadow between the trees, but as he stepped closer, it rose before him. A tree unlike any other. Its trunk was wide, old, and twisted like the hands of a dying man. The leaves were bright green, alive even in silence. But what caught Chukwuma's eyes were the two things hanging from its branches. They swung gently, like skin, like sacks, like something alive. Chukwuma stepped back. His chest felt tight, his heart pounded. He did not know what the sacks were, but something in his bones told him to run. Not walk, not turn, run. He stumbled through the trees, thorns scratching his legs. He fell once, twice, but kept moving. The forest around him seemed to grow darker, tighter, like it didn't want him to leave. And somewhere behind him, for the first time, the tree creaked, as if it was waking up, as if it knew who had come. Why did the sacred tree groan when Chukwuma approached? Is it waking up? Why does Ogbonna's wife keep touching the earth? What secrets does she hear? Part 2 will shock you. Subscribe now.